Hello, fellow residents of Tamriel. It is the Beeve, and following suit with what we've been putting out the last couple videos that you've seen, we are going into another double two-handed stamina build here. This is going to be a Stamina Dragonknight. The Dragonknight is a connect the dots type of race or class, and there's a lot of dots that come along with this, pretty strong dots as well, nice long-lasting dots, which gives us the ability to piece together a rotation that has a lot of spam-heavy wrecking blows in it, like you've seen with the other ones. So rotation is going to be very similar as before. It's going to be very static. It's going to be pretty simple, and it's just going to be full of wrecking blows. Pardon me, I had to get a drink there. So to buff ourselves up and to look at our character sheet here, our character is looking 13,000 magicka, almost just a tad under 23 health, 22.9, stamina 29,700, stamina recovery 1461, weapon damage 4872, critical 58.6, physical and spell penetrations both sit at 16, and if we do hit our volatile armor, because we need the resistances, we can get up to 20,000 in spell and 19,000 in physical. We are using, pardon me, we are using all 64 points into our stamina. We are using a dubious Kamaran throne, and we have been able to sustain with the dubious, so it's nice. This is a nice cheap food that gives us some max stamina, gives us some stamina recovery, gives us some max health. The Stam Takeaway broth will give you a little bit more of each one of those stats, plus health recovery as well, but it is a lot more expensive for like another 300 stamina and health, so it's not a huge trade-off. It's not a trade-off that's worth the price that it costs to make this stuff, in my opinion. But if you are having problems with sustain, you can always try the Stam Takeaway broth, or you could even go with the Lava Foot Soup and Saltreese. You would lose your maximum health with the Lava Foot, but you definitely would have no sustain issues at that point. So if you don't mind running with a little less health, you're running with good healers and good group composition, then by all means run that, and you'll be in pretty good shape. We are running Orc with this. I'm pretty sure I forgot to mention that. If I did, my bad. But Orc has always been my preferred class. The Dark Elf is probably actually the best in slot for stamina and maybe even magicka, both at this point, because of their max magicka, max stamina. They get weapon and spell damage, and they have a flame resistance as well. The Orc gets the weapon and spell damages as well. The Orc also gets maximum stamina, and then you get maximum health out of the Orc as well, plus a nice little heal from doing damage every few seconds from their passives as well. I've always liked Orcs, so that's what I've been making this, but the Dark Elf probably is best in slot, honestly. Inventory-wise, as you've seen all this time now that I've been making these videos the last couple of days, we are using Reliquins on the front bar, Precise Greatsword with flame damage, and then all three pieces of jewelry are weapon and spell damage enchantment with Bloodthirsty trait. The Reliquins is a medium armor set that can be found in the Cloud Rush trial. The perfected version is not a necessity. All the perfected version does is adds another 1,096 maximum stamina. It's not going to be so significant to the parse that it changes it like dramatically. But I mean, there's going to be a little bit of a difference to it. But the perfected version is not a necessity. We also are using the Maelstrom's Perfected Greatsword infused with a weapon and spell damage glyph on it. This comes from completing Veteran Maelstrom Arena. If you don't have the perfected version of this, it's not a big deal either. The only difference is with the perfected version here is 1190 offensive penetration, which means jack when it comes to, parsing on the Atronach, because you're already at pen cap anyway. And the difference that you would possibly see in content being that this is a back bar weapon and we're just applying dots on the back bar for 3 or 4 seconds, the difference is going to be negligible. So if you do not have the perfected version of this, once again, it is not a necessity by any means. We do have the Zon head and shoulders that we are using. The Zon is a monster helm that can be acquired from completing Veteran Scale Collar Peak, and once you complete it on Vet, you do get the helm. And then the Orc Undaunted lady in the Undaunted Enclave has the coffers that you can buy to get the shoulder pieces. Highland Sentinel is our other body armor set that we are wearing. This is a craftable set that is found in the new Gold Road chapter. If you don't have the ability to craft this yourself, many of your guilds are going to have your master crafters that are going to be able to do it for you, and if you don't have them there, then there's always people out in zone that they're more than willing to help someone out, or even do it for a little bit of scratch as well. So however you want to acquire it, you can go by doing so very simply, very easily, in my opinion. The Highland Sentinel is just a lot of 3 lines of critical chance, and then for each second you stand still, in combat, you get 357 critical chance, stacking 10 times. So it adds a lot of critical chance. The only downfall to this set is that if you are in content where you're constantly having to move and you can't hold still, then this set just does you no good whatsoever. It's great for parsing. It might not be the greatest in content, like for trials like the like Cloud Rest. If you're just if you're doing something there, like on the Zamajo on the last boss, where he or she, whatever that slowed is, when jumping all over the place or whatnot, or if you have to be, hitting, taking portals to go take down crystals and whatnot, this set is not going to be beneficial to you whatsoever. On the other hand, like Sunspire, where the dragons land and they don't move, and like you can really stack up the damage right there. It would work good there. A lot of the base DLC, or a lot of the base and some of the DLC dungeons, you have the ability to hold still, so it's good in there. But I'm rambling here, my bad. Just this set is situational. If you're in a trial or a dungeon where you have to move around constantly, this set is useless to you. That's where I would say go ahead and put the perfected relic, or put the reliquins on the body, and then go with something like Aegis Collar or Pillars of Nirn on the weapons and jewelry, or put the Coral Riptide on the body and go with the Pillars or Aegis on the jewelry. So there are different options there, but for parsing and certain trials, this works great. But for any ones that you got to move in, yeah, it's useless to you. Our champion tree, we are looking at the green tree and red trees. You can do what you want. I never really show what I have in here, but on the green tree, I slot Treasure Hunter, Rationer for longer uptime on my food eaten, Liquid Efficiency to have a 10% chance to not consume a potion or a poison when it's used, and Steed's Blessing for out of combat movement speed. In the red tree, once again, you can do what you like, but what I like to do is Boundless Vitality, Fortified, Rejuvenation, and then I have Celerity down here for the 10% movement speed. So that's a nice little movement speed bonus. Helps you navigate around when in battle, and helps you navigate from area to area in trials and dungeons as well in a pretty quick manner. When you're in this tree, you will want to make sure that you're taking your boundless vitality and slotting it, and making sure you have your hero's vigor all the way up, because between the both, that's 1,960 maximum health that is just from slotting this and having points right here. So definitely a good idea to have both of those filled in. Blue tree. First and foremost, you want to make sure you have your wrathful strikes, your fighting finesse, your critical aim, and your critical or deadly aim, and your master at arms all slotted. All the constellations that you don't need to slot, you want to kind of focus on these as well, like your piercing, flawless ritual, war mage, battle mastery, and mighty in your extended might constellation, timeless discipline, the precision, the eldritch insight, blessed over here for a little bit more healing done for yourself. In the starving death here, you have hardy elemental aegis preparation and quick recovery. These are your great damage reduction constellations in here. So you definitely, I would suggest making sure you get these four, your four main slottables filled in, and then start going after constellations, especially the starving death. If you're a low level and you're just starting out and you're lower CP, but once you get high enough, you want to make sure you get all of these filled in, obviously. Now, with this, with all these here, I am using the fighting finesse for the 8% critical strike and damage, critical healing done. This is if you're in a well-optimized group that's helping you get to that, that 125% critical strike damage, and to where you don't have to be slotting this, then you can definitely take this off. And I would suggest, like, there you go with Untamed Aggression, you go with Weapons Expert or Exploiter. I personally think I would go with Thaumaturge. The DK has so many good dots, strong dots, that I think the damage over time increase on those dots would be a little bit more beneficial than your Untamed Aggression or your Weapons Master or your Exploiter. Now, I haven't tested those, so I can't be 100%. That's why I said I believe. I could be wrong. But if I were going into content where I knew I was going to be at that 125% already, I would be taking off the Fighting Finesse and adding Thaumaturge. Skills, it's going to look very similar to how we've shown in the last few videos. We are using Stampede. This is our ability that procs our Maelstrom weapon. We're using Eruption. This is a nice little magicka over time drain that gives a nice explosion damage up front, and then reduces movement speed and deals damage every second. The explosion damage from it can only happen once every 10 seconds, and that's perfect for us because we're setting this and then we're not coming back and reapplying it until it's almost completely fallen off anyway. Our next ability is our Venom Claw. We rake an enemy for poison damage up front and then poison damage over time. Then it deals 12% more damage every 2 seconds, which is a nice little damage uptick. And enemies hit are afflicted with the poison status effect as well. So with this ability, it's kind of a triple threat. It does damage over time. The damage over time ramps up the longer it's on, and it provides the poison status effect with the initial hit. And then at every tick, it has a chance to apply the poison status effect again, so you can get a good uptime on your poison status effect with this. This ability, I personally, to keep this thing static, I'm reapplying this before it completely drops off. If you wanted to be more dynamic with the rotation and bar swap more, you could wait till it's like ready to fall off, bar swap, and hit it back on, and make the rotation a little bit more dynamic. But for the sake of trying to make things as easy as possible as I have, and making things that people can put together that are, you know, easy to do, that still do really good damage, we're just going to keep it static, and we're not going to be doing that. I do have volatile armor on here. This is our physical and spell resistance buff. Plus, this does do a little bit of damage over time as well. It's not a whole lot. You know, 6,200 damage over 20 seconds is not a lot. While active, the armor returns flame damage to anyone that attacks you as well. So that's within melee range, so that's cool. But we're only hitting this and keeping this active if nobody else is providing this for us, and like if we're not having any spell or physical resistance being provided for us by like a warden tank or a warden healer using expansive frost cloak or something like that, then, you know, we have this on here for our own survivability, you know, to mitigate damage. The Molten Whip here, we have this here, but we're not really activating it. You don't have to have this here if you don't want to use it. You could put like a Green Dragon's Blood heal here. You could put a Green Dragon Blood heal here if you wanted to, if you were getting good physical and spell resistance buffs from the group anyway. But I have this here is because whenever you get whenever you activate any other Ardent Flame ability, it increases, you know, this stacks, and it increases the damage of your next Molten Whip, which we're not using at all. But we are using this to stack the weapon and spell damage buff of 100 for 15 seconds, stacking up to 3 times. So because that's such a long timer on that 15 seconds, we can have a 100% uptime on this extra 300 weapon and spell damage. It's not a lot. I know it's min-maxing, but every little bit helps, so we have it on here just to stack, and it'll stay stacked as long as we follow our rotation correctly. We are using Standard of Might. I have this on both front and back bar at the moment. I'm going to be keeping it on front, and that's where I'm going to be dropping it from, just for the ease of the rotation and not having to bar swap to throw it down. But this one on the back bar is you can, it's a flex spot. If you don't want this here, you can put it somewhere else. But this is a nice damage over time, over 20 seconds, a really good damage over time, over 20 seconds. Provides major defile, reducing healing and damage shield strength. That's more PvP type of stuff right there. But standing in the area increases your damage and reduces damage taken by 15%. So you're taking less damage and doing more damage while you're standing in your own standard. You're leaving a synergy behind for anyone to hit for a huge amount of damage, and immobilizing anything for 5 seconds. So this is just this is a killer ultimate for PvE content. Obviously, we have this on the front bar. This is where we are applying it. Also on the front bar, we are using our Wrecking Blow. This is the same as it's been with all the other builds. It does a good amount of damage up front, gives us Empower, which we don't heavy attack, so that's not a big deal. But it's also giving us that major Berserk for 10% more damage, which is what helps make these rotations easy to do and high damage output. We have Engulfing Flames here. This is I did have Noxious Breath here, but it made Sustain a little bit of a pain in the ass, to be honest with you. By switching this to Engulfing Flames, I'm not using as much much stamina. I'm using the Magicka version of this, so it provides flame damage and flame damage over time, and anything that's affected with flame with this ability takes 6% more flame damage as well. So the damage from this, the damage from the Zon, the damage from a fiery weapon, the damage from Standard of Might, the damage from Flames of Oblivion, all are buffed by this while this is on and active. So that is the reason why we have went with the Magicka version instead of the Noxious Breath version of this. Now, if you're going into solo content like Maelstrom Arena or Vattershorn Hollows or something like that, or if you like running, solo dungeons and whatnot, the stamina version of this, the Noxious Breath, will actually apply major breach for you, so it might be a better option there. You just might, and the sustain might be a little bit sticky in that situation, to be honest with you. But but for content where we're running with tanks and healers, 4-man content and trial content, we are using Engulfing Flames. We have our Executioner here. When we hit the 25% threshold, we will be ignoring our Wrecking Blows and just using Executioner as we did in the other videos. We have our Barbed Trap here. This is our bleed damage over time, and minor force. Initial hit provides us with hemorrhaging status effect, so a really nice utility ability here. And then Flames of Oblivion. When you activate this, it launches a fireball at 3 enemies every 5 seconds, dealing 7,200 flame damage. While slotted on either bar, you gain Major Prophecy and Savagery, increasing your spell and weapon critical ratings by 2629. And as we said before, Standard of Might. So the rotation is going to look something like this. We're going to activate our Flames of Oblivion. We're going to activate our bar. We're going to run in, throw down our Barbed Trap to start off the fight. We'll bar swap and go Stampede, Light Attack Stampede, Light Attack Eruption, Light Attack Venom's Claw. And then we're going to bar swap. Then we're going to Light Attack Engulfing Flames. And then we are just going to Light Attack Wrecking Blow spam until there is about a second left on, about 1 second left on Stampede, and then we are going to Light Attack Barbed Trap, Light Attack Flames of Oblivion, bar swap, and start over. So it's a very simple rotation. This is as simple as I can make it to do, very good damage, or as much damage as I can get it to do. We want to make sure also we are hitting our Standard of Might on cooldown. Soon as we have the ultimate to be able to do it, we want to make sure we are throwing it down. With the Dragonknights, sustain can be a little bit of a pain in the butt. But when it comes to, like when you drop that standard with your passive that you have in your, I think it's in Earth and Heart. Yeah, Battle Roar. When you cast an ultimate ability, you restore 51 health, 50 magicka, and 50 stamina for each point of ultimate spent. So when you're dropping that with, 250 ultimate that you need to drop it with, you are getting back a ton of resources just from dropping ultimate. So it really helps with our sustain. My daughter is in the background hopping around and humming. If you can't hear her, she's on the autism spectrum, so she likes to stem, and so anytime you hear something like that in the background, that's what's going on. My daughter's back here stemming. All right, so let's go ahead and fill our ultimate, use our Ethereal Well, and start this rotation. We'll see exactly how I do it, how easy it can be once you get into it and get it started. And we'll check out the damage numbers. We'll check out the combat metrics stats when we come back from the fight, and we'll talk about it and go ahead and end the video after that. want you to pay attention to how much how much resources this ultimate gives me back right here, because I'm really low. Look, everything fell in line right there, and I'm right back to full resources. Now we're at execute phase. Now my ultimate should be ready at the beginning of my next rotation. And that's when we'll just go ahead and push to completion here. And then we're back up to having all of our resources. And that is the parse. Ooh, that's a good parse. That's a good one. 114,400. That's pretty darn good. And of course, my standard was still up when the boss came back. So this one's gonna look. We're gonna have to go back to this one here. All right, so there's our damage output, 114,398. Low discrepancy between the two. This one said 114,400. 16.6 million, which is almost 80% for critical. 4.3, which is 20% for regular. Our critical strike chance was at 81%. Our critical strike damage was 125%. When it comes to our buffs, our Sentinel's Eye stayed up 97% of the time. Merciless Charge, that was our that's our Stampede ability, was up 99% of the time. Brutality 99 on Endurance, 99 on Major Force. Seething Fury stayed up 97% of the time, the buff part of it. So 97% of the time we were getting that extra 300 weapon and spell damage, which isn't a lot, but you know, it's every little bit helps. Flames of Oblivion, 90% uptime. Empower, 56. Major Berserk, 56. That's a good uptime considering once we got to the 25% mark, we weren't using the Wrecking Blow anymore. So you'd see this probably closer to like 75% if we were, or maybe 70% of the time up if we didn't stop the Wrecking Blow spam. Sundered. Battle Rush. I'm not sure what that was, why that's on there, but our buffs, our debuffs, our Barb Trap, our Venom's Claw stayed up 98% of the time, Reliquin stayed up 95% of the time, 80% on Burning, 53% on Sundered, 43% on Zawn. Hemorrhaging stayed up, I don't know how you actually look at this, is it 33% on one hemorrhaging, 16% on two, maybe? I'm not sure exactly how you're supposed to read that, to be honest with you. We had some poisoned up 31% of the time, so we had all kinds of different status effects going off, obviously. Our Wrecking Blow came in number one at 23,000 DPS. It averaged 52, maxed at 65. As we've seen and said in the past, the light attack arms of Reliquin, you're looking at 20k between these, close to 21k, just from wearing Reliquin and being able to light attack weave. A lot of damage right there. If you don't know how to light attack weave, practice, practice, practice. The light attacks averaged 13k, maxed out at 16. Executioner came in third. We only used this the last 25%, but it did tremendous amounts of damage for us. Critted at 88%, average 91, hit as hard as 130. Arms of Reliquin did us 8,600 damage just from light attacking. Flames of Oblivion, another 8,200. Burning, we kept burning up a lot. 6,000 damage per second just from the burning status effect. We had our eruption ability, which was 5,400 per second. Standard of Might, 5,100 per second. That is the ticks on the Standard of Might right there. So the Standard of Might was ticking for 22k max and averaged 80 or 18. So that's pretty big. Zon, another 4,700 DPS. Stampede, 4,400. Venomous Claw, this is the tick from the Venomous Claw. The Venomous Claw did 4,100. It averaged 9k a tick and maxed out at 13k. Flames of Oblivion did 3,000 damage per second. Fiery Weapon and Barbed Trap, 2924. Another Engulfing Flames. Wasn't there... Yeah. So when you look at the Engulfing Flames, you got 3 here and you got 2 here. So really that's 5. The Venomous Claw, you got 41 here, and then I think down here again is another 12. This is the initial hit from the Venomous Claw. The poison status effect from the Venomous Claw. So like everything, you'll see everything adds up. Like we had a little bit of hemorrhaging, not a whole lot, but it still gave us almost 1,000 DPS, so almost average 1,000 DPS during that parse. So like that is how everything put together makes damage, creates damage for this build. It is it's a really good build, as you can see, 114k. That's one of the highest that we've seen. The simplicity of the rotation is crazy. It's really good. It's easy to do. Once again, this is a 2-hand spam. So the 2-hand, the Wrecking Blow with the light attacks can be a little bit janky. But like once you really practice with it and you run a couple dozen parses or whatever, just getting used to it and getting good with it, you'll find yourself not really missing out on those. You'll get your timing down and you'll be hitting those light attacks more often than not. But hey, once again, that's all I got for you guys. I appreciate it greatly. If you like the video, please like and subscribe. I would greatly appreciate that. And if you would like to see more live stuff done, you can follow me over on Kick. My name on Kick is _Beeve01. And that is where I'd like to start being able to interact more with people watching and give people the ability to say, hey, try this. Hey, put this on. You know, what would this build look like with this rotation? Like, that's what I'd like to end up doing with that. We haven't had any biters on it yet, but I'm willing to spend the time to do it. So if that's something that interests you, give me a like and a subscribe here. Give me a follow over on Kick. Contact me on either platform and let me know, and I'll gladly set up a time and day that we can both jump into stream and I can show you. And then you can interact with me, asking me what you would like to see and what you would like to do. But thank you guys very much for tuning in. I appreciate it greatly. And happy adventuring.